That is awesome. Oh man. Holy schmoly, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to today's episode. Today I wanted to talk about this amplifier, the Positive Greatest Spark 40. You know, when I initially got this, I absolutely hated it. I've seen everybody on Instagram and YouTube talk about how great this thing is, how it's the best thing since sliced bread. And today, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a more informed opinion, maybe. I've been using this seriously nonstop for the past 2 weeks. And after the latest firmware update, and after some playing today while making this video, things kind of finally clicked for me. And yeah, I just want to explore this amplifier with you guys and provide some entertainment and maybe even some educational moments. So let's get into it. So this is the tone I was using on the intro. This is one of their stock tones. You don't even need the app for this. And speaking about the app, this was one of my first kind of setbacks to this amp, is that you have to use an app to really get the most out of the feature set. You'll see here you got this kind of fixed sort of signal chain. You can't move the pedals around like you can with the Axe Effects or like other modelers. But really, you put them in the same place anyway, so what are you really missing? They have all sorts of, you know, famous clones of all the pedals and stuff that you would ever want. My only gripe is the modulation effects and the EQ are under the same kind of thing, so you can't have both, which I think is a little unfair, but boo-hoo. So before I go through all the crazy tones that I can get out of this, let's talk a little bit about tone. So when I first got this, I absolutely hated it because it was flubby and I want something tight and crunchy, and I'm a set it and forget it type of guy, so I do it so that it's barely high gain. Most of the stuff I do is this sort of crunchy, super tight sort of sound that's really hard to replicate for some of the more affordable modelers like this. And I really was not having a good time. I emailed them and they said, hey, try using the EQ and elevating it off the floor. I've already been doing that, and I tried to use an EQ. It told me to update the firmware. I updated the firmware, and here we are. I like it a little bit more now. And on the sides of tones, what is good tone? What is bad tone? Nobody really knows. I do though, and I'll tell you, there's no such thing. There's no secret ingredient. There is only usable and appropriate. So how usable the tone is and how appropriate it is for the setting is really what matters. You know, there are people who gig with Line 6 pods. There are people who gig with Axe effects, and everything in between. They all manage to squeeze good sound out of what they're using. And that's what I aim to do, is squeeze some good sounds out of just about anything I can get my hands on. So with that being said, the tones I was initially hearing I did not like. However, as you heard in the intro, very usable, and they even sound good in a mix. So let's go through some of these tones, shall we? What am I doing here? Okay. This was one of my initial ones that I really liked. Let's see if I can pull it up here for you guys. Rock. It's called Lagrange Grunch. And for those who don't know, you can go through all sorts of preloaded presets, as well as other people can upload their own preset. And you do have to make an account, but it takes like 2 seconds. It's not that big of a deal. But the whole app thing, I'm not really a big fan of. But this is something that was more bright and kind of tight and crunchy without being super high gain. So that's what this sounds like. Pretty good. This one is probably my most favorite. This is Zakk Wylde, No More Tears lead. I just found that somebody uploaded this, I think. Right? Isn't that sweet? This modeler does a lot of those kind of super high gain, guitar soupy sounds really good. It gets kind of flubby in the mid gain stuff, but then it also does really good kind of clean ambient stuff, which we'll get to in a bit. This is somebody's preset I modified a little bit to sound like For the Love of God. They had like it's super decked with gain. I kind of dialed it back a little bit. I just kind of like the sustain on this. Super fun. Here's one I made after I updated the firmware and kind of used the EQ more, like the EQ pedals. This is kind of my bookmark thing I do of trying to get a Van Halen tone out of everything I get my hands on. So super fun. I mean, it's not exactly like a Van Halen tone match I would get out of the Axe Effects, but usable and appropriate. This one, Spooky Melody, very cool. This is the first thing I played when I hit this preset. Super fun. I also want to mention that the reverb on this is insane. Like, it sounds remarkably incredible. And I think it even sounds better than my Boss Katana, but I think most people's complaint with the Boss Katana is that the reverb really isn't that good. But for what it's worth, the ambient stuff you get in this, just in the room, is crazy. Let's try some of this. Sounds good. I think when I was recording before, it sounded a little bassier when I was listening back to it, but in the room, it sounds remarkable. It's just kind of those mid-gain sounds in the room. It just sounds flubby. But I think really what I want to get at this video is I originally thought this amp was like $500 or $600, which would make it not worth it. And I think what it does really well is being like an Axe Effects Junior. So if you don't want to spend like $2,500 or $3,000 on Axe Effects to get all the like crazy tone match stuff and literally every guitar amp ever, as well as the recording aspects, you can record stuff wicked easy. You can pick this up for $250, pair it to your phone, play backing tracks off YouTube or Spotify, so you can practice with it. You can record with it super easy, the same way you can with the Axe Effects 3. It's the same USB Type B cable, and it might not sound incredible like the Axe Effects 3 does. Blows me away every time I plug into it. It sounds usable, and it sounds appropriate. So that's really all I have to say. I think definitely not the best tones I've ever heard, but for what it is and all the stuff you can do with it, I think it's good. I think it's good. I think the only way it could get better is if you didn't have to plug it in. You got to plug it into the wall now. But if it was like portable, like man, what are those called? The Yamahas. Some of those Yamaha little head lunchbox style amps like this, then yeah, that would absolutely seal the deal. But for what it is right now and all the versatility you can get out of it, I completely get the hype now, and I'm not gonna say I'm on board the Spark train, but yeah, it's pretty good. So hopefully this video was entertaining or mildly educational. If you appreciated it, let me know somehow. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.